Do you have big goals and dreams? Would you like to not only just accomplish them, but dominate when you go after those big goals and dreams? One of the ways you can do that is make sure you build self-discipline. I'm Miles Street. I'm International Leadership and Business Coach. I help international business leaders who have been experiencing winning moments in the past, but right now they know they need a new game plan and are not really sure what plan to use, but they know whatever they do, they want to dominate and win that next move. What does it mean to be self-disciplined? And how would you build it into your life? When you have something bigger than yourself to go after, you really have a big dream, or you determine what your big why is, for you to accomplish that, you're going to have to build self-discipline into your life. You may be natural at it, or maybe you're not. Doesn't matter whether you are or aren't. What matters is, how do you go about doing it? How are you going to make that dream come true? How are you going to reach that big goal? What is that big why, and how are you going to make it happen for yourself? The only way you're going to make it happen for yourself is that you build self-discipline into your life. If you're trying to learn a new language you've never learned before, maybe you're trying to start a business. You've never done it before in your life. I know what it's like to go learn a new language you never learned before, never knew. Yes, when I was 27 years old, I moved to Thailand and learned to speak Thai. For an English speaker, it's one of the harder languages just for us to learn. There's other harder ones out there, but it's very hard. And I wasn't really gifted at it. Yes, I'd taken some tests to determine how good I was going to be at learning how to speak another language. And guess what I learned? I wasn't really gifted at it. Yeah, that was fun to know. But it helped. Yes, I went out and got some other training on how to learn a second language, and that made a difference. It did. But guess what? I've done the same thing with trying to learn how to start a business. Yeah, I've always worked for somebody else. Never started my own business before. But that's changed this year. I've started a coaching business, and I've had to learn how to go to do that. I knew how to do coaching stuff, took all kind of training for it, but I didn't understand the business side. I'd always worked for somebody else. So the same thing. I had to determine, how was I going to do this? One of the things that I found helpful for me is using something Tony Robbins talks about, and is determine what your standards are, put some rituals in place, and define your musts. And so when it came to learning how to speak Thai, my standard was I wanted to be able to stand up in front of a group of educated Thai people and be able to give a presentation, a talk, a speech, run a meeting. I wanted to be able to sit down and have dinner with them and have conversation over life stuff, business stuff, talk in an educated, higher level, and I wanted to be fluent at it. I wanted to read and write the language. So that was my standard. So what did I do with that? Well, I put some rituals in place. Some of that was, I signed up for a language school. I went. I studied. Set aside 2 hours a day for study. And the language school really helped me with something. They gave me a review method I could use. And I took that review method and applied it. And so part of my ritual was to go to class 2 hours a day, study at home 2 hours a day, spend 2 hours a day in reviewing past lessons. And that was my ritual. With that ritual, what did I have to do? I had to determine what my musts were. And it's fairly simple. Those rituals, the reality was, they became my musts. I had to go to school. I had to study. But the one thing I really wanted to make sure I didn't forget was that review. Because for me, knowing myself, my learning channels, everything was, I had to do that. And the fact that I did that made the difference. The thing that I've determined for myself, and I think you'll find as well, is when you determine what those musts are and you do them, and you do them when you really don't feel like it. Yeah, it's like, it's your day to go to the gym and get that workout in, and you're tired, and you don't want to do it. Well, guess what? You've determined what your must is. Your must is you're going to work out, and you go, and you do it, and you get it done. When I do that, that's a win. That's the biggest win there is. So, how about for business? What does that mean? What's the standard? I've set a certain standard for myself. Yes, same thing. I went out and found a program, a method. I've had a lot of training and coaching, but yes, I didn't understand the business side of it. And finally, I found someone that could help me with that. Yes. But then still again, I had to determine what are my musts. What are the things I must do? For me, there again, is scheduling. I'm going to spend this amount of time on it every day. I'm going to do this during these hours. I'm going to be working on this. Part of this YouTube channel is part of that. There are other things that I do related to it, but I sit down and determine what are my musts. Just like you'll see me on YouTube once a week. That is a must. Put my channel up there once a week. I've determined that for myself. But think about it for yourself. What is that must that you have to set up? One of the other things that has helped is using something that David Goggins talks about, and that's embracing the suck. When you go after a big dream and goal, you know what your big why is. You're going to have to embrace the suck. Part of that is like I talked about, and determine what your musts are and going and doing it. But also it helps for me that I have a certain things I do for my morning rituals, my morning routine, that is. And one of those things is making sure I take a cold shower. And for me, that is the one thing that helps me realize I'm going to embrace the suck. I can turn that water on. I know it's cold. I don't want to get in there, but I sit there until it said mile 3. It's time for you to embrace the suck. And when I do that, that's like a small victory for the day. Already starting out the day on the right foot. Yeah, things are hard. Life's going to suck it sometimes, and when you can do that, you've won. And I've already started out on a winning note. Hey, do me a solid. Hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. Thank you. When it comes to self-discipline and building it in your life, think about how do you work best. Are you the type of person that likes to take on the hard thing first? One of the things that doing that cold shower, part of my morning routine, that's a hard thing. I'm taking it on right away. Is that how you work? Maybe you're that type of person and you need to get a slower start. One small step. Maybe it's doing that small thing to get that flow going. Mel Robbins teaches a countdown method of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and she's going to go and do it. Maybe that's what you need to do for yourself. You use that. Maybe there's another method out there for you. But whatever it is, what works for you? Just like I applied a review method for me to learn Thai. Just like I went and found a program to help me do the business side of my coaching. Yes, those things helped me. Those were the things that I needed to build that self-discipline in my life. What do those things help with? Another thing they provide for me is accountability. A group of people I can meet with and be around There was accountability in the language learning. Yes, I had review processes and tests and things like that that helped me measure my progress. I had a certain goal in mind. Yeah, I knew the average amount of time people spent to get to a 6th grade level, 2 years. So guess what? I was going to at least reach it within the 2 years. I was able to accomplish it in a year and 9 months. Not that I'm superhuman. It just meant I worked at it. I prepared for it. I did the things that it was required of me to do. I would be willing to do the extra stuff. That's right. At times, you're just going to have to do more. Personally, that's one thing I've learned for myself. For me, it requires me to be willing to do more. Now, once you find that rhythm and flow for yourself and you determine, hey, I'm going to do the hard stuff first, or maybe I'm going to start slow and do something small and get the flow going. Once you determine what that rhythm is, after you get started, start evaluating yourself. Whether you evaluate yourself at the end of the day, at the end of the week, go back and look over. How did you do? Did you get your musts done? Did you do the things you set out to do? There again, that's what helps to have a big why, a big end goal. And as you set up that big why and big end goal, think about what are the small things along the way that are going to help you measure your success. And go back and evaluate. What did you do right? And celebrate the wins. The big wins, the small wins, celebrate them for yourself. And then think about, how can I do better? What can I do better next time to make it better for myself? It's always thinking about progress over perfection. One of the things I learned when trying to learn a second language was, don't be afraid to make a mistake. Don't be afraid to fail. It helped that I was learning Thai and learning among Thai people, and they're friendly, they're nice, and all that kind of stuff. That made a big difference, because just the fact that I was able to speak a little bit of the language and they would tell me how well I sounded, how good I was, that meant a lot. But you also got to realize too, when people kept telling me that and kept telling me that, that meant I needed to get better. You know why? Because when they stopped telling me how good I spoke Thai, then I knew I was a good Thai speaker. Yeah, it helps understand the culture a little bit. Now, I've mentioned several different methods I use for myself in language learning or in starting my business. I mentioned Tony Robbins' idea here. I mentioned Mel Robbins' idea here. But what methods, formulas, ideas can you borrow and begin to adjust them and make them work for you? One of the things that smart workers do is find those things that are already out there that they can take and improve on and make them work for them. And what is that for you? You want to develop self-discipline, get better at something? Find a methodology, find a formula for you and borrow that from someone, and then make it fit who you are and how you work in your style. As you go down this road and you're working hard and you're building that self-discipline in, there are going to be days and times that you're going to fall short. You're not going to accomplish everything. You're going to be tired. You're going to have some setbacks. Do not beat yourself up, because tomorrow is a new day. Yes, that's right. Let it go. Wake up tomorrow. Take it on. Don't let it get you down. We all have that. And if you do, one of the best things you can do is, where is that group, that community for you? Do you have a coach, a mentor, somebody you can go to talk to help you work through some of the issues? Final thing I'd recommend for you, one of the best things is develop your problem-solving skills. As you go after that dream, you go after your goal, and you're disciplining yourself, and you're know what your standards are, you're following your rituals and your musts, and you keep running into a problem somewhere, and it keeps causing a setback, then you need to introduce some problem-solving skills. Figure out your contingency plan. What are the steps you're going to put in place to overcome this? And use that to help you overcome the setbacks so that you can accomplish your goals and your dreams for yourself. I hope this has been of value to you. Also, check out the video above, Achieving Your Goals in the Next 6 to 12 Months. This will help you get clarity on what is that big why, or what are those big dreams and goals you have.